there's not one liberal white person that is on your side. And I'm going to say that there's not one white person that is on your side. This is not an attack against white people. It's just a unconscious, subconscious truth that exists that most people aren't really aware of because they're so focused on their conscious minds. Okay? You have to understand something here. People aren't bad, and white people aren't bad. And the reason why white people are not on your side is not because they're evil. It's because the human mind is set up a certain way. The human mind. This is my face. The human mind is designed a certain way, to be a certain way. But in this life, what happened is we were introduced to something called, let's say, start with religion and morals. When that came into being, or when those concepts came into being, excuse me, because the natural state of the human mind to become confused and distorted, meaning the human mind is comprised of light and dark and negative and positive. But because morality and religion and morality came into play, people started to disregard the natural dark states of their mind, the shadow. And then people started to make believe on their conscious mind that they are only or mostly or they're more in tune with their light side or with goodness. And it depends on what type of goodness we're talking about, because obviously there's some people who are not ashamed to show their dark side, and there's people who, even if they're ashamed of it, they do bad things in the light of day anyway. But still, most people want to believe that they're mostly or only good. So they stay on their conscious minds, okay? They stay focused and fixated on their conscious mind, even though the truth of how they feel, the real truth of them, is more of a subconscious thing, right? So policies like political correctness came out of the idea of morals and morals, the concept of morals rooted in religion, right? But political correctness came into being because of these things. Because the human consciousness wants to believe that it's mostly good, right? So what we have here is, how does this relate to white people not being on your side, is that the human ego, when the human ego is exposed to morals and religion and in this case political correctness, even before that, the human ego had this innate, like this inherent, should say, nature to always want to be good, good, right, and strong. Is the three main objective of the human ego: is to be right, to be strong, and to be good. So when the human mind, when the ego views the darkness in the human mind, it pushes it down and pushes it away and suppress it. And then it creates this fake self and this fake persona of only wanting to be good and strong and right. So let me just read this real quick so I could, my mind could fall into place. And I wrote this down so I could just to remember my points, right? So now, as relating to the subject matter here, reading. When you identify with something, it has to be right, it has to be good, and it has to be strong. Now, if you identify as a person, because the ego is all about identity. When you identify as a human, a one person like me, I have to be right, I have to be good, I have to be strong. And each individual is like this because of the ego. Now, because the ego is all about identity, anything you identify with, it becomes a part of the self. Okay? And the ego identifies with that thing. So if you identify as white or black or whatever, you want those things to be, the ego wants those things to be, those three objectives: to be right, to be good, and to be strong. Right? So, even though it's not only the self, now it's a group thing. Because when you identify with a group, and in this case, we're talking about white people. White people identify as white. So now the ego self wants, now the ego self sees whiteness as itself. So now whiteness has to be right, has to be strong, and has to be good. Now, because we have this whole political correct agenda going on, or policy, you should say, white people, it became the right thing to be. The right and the good and the strong thing to be now is to be PC for a lot of white people, and for black people and for people in general, especially people on the so-called left. Okay, the right thing to be is to be PC. So because of this, white people suppress any kind of resentment, any hatred or fear or any ill feelings they have towards black people, and then they start to focus on doing the right thing and being PC. But the truth of the matter is, the dark parts of your being, of white people's being and people in general, it didn't go away because you started to do the right thing. Okay? Because you started to be PC, those dark parts of you didn't go away. And because even the dark parts of you want to be right and want to be good and want to be strong, whenever black people talk about racism and talk about white privilege and white entitlement and whatever negative things they say about whiteness and white supremacy and white people, the truth of the matter is the people on the left, the PC people, the people who want to be right by being PC, they act like they agree with black people. They act like they are on the side of black people because they want to be right and they want to be good. They want to believe that they're good people. So they start to act as if they're on their side. And maybe, not maybe, but there's a part of them that are on the side of black people. But there's another part of them that is not on the side of black people, because every time black person says talk something negative about white people, the liberal people on the left, they hate those things just as much as the people on the right. They hate those things just as much as the people on the alt-right. A part of them hate that black people have to talk about their struggles and talk about white privilege and talk about the negative things in the white community, or the negative aspect of the white community and racism in general. So when you see the people on the right talking about, and people on the alt-right talking about how they hate certain things about black people, and they hate they disagree with a bunch of things that black people say, you have to understand that the people on the left, they also hate these things. Okay? The liberal people, they too hate these things about black people. They hate when black people talk about white privilege. They hate when black people talk about white guilt. They hate, how do I say this? They just hate anything negative that is being said about white people. Because the truth of the matter is, they too are white. They're white too. So whether white people on the left or white people on the right, the white person's mind, the human mind, wants to know that they are good, and it wants to know that they are right, and it wants to know that they are strong. So anything that is shining a light on any possible idea that they might be anything less of these things, they're gonna hate it. Okay, so let me just read this thing. This thing I'm about to read, it probably saying the same thing I just said, but I need to read it so just to make sure I covered the points in that area. So the reason why it seems like liberals are on the side of black people is because the right thing and the good thing and the strong thing to do is to be PC. Okay? And people are afraid of being wrong. White people are there. People in general, but we're talking about white people now, are afraid of being wrong. They're afraid of being weak, and they're afraid of being bad people. They're afraid of being wrong, so they stay on the side that is moral. They stay they stay with being PC because it's moral, and they want to feel like they're good people. Not that they're bad people, but they want to feel like they're good people. So they stay on the side that supports the idea of being politically correct, because they can't stand the idea that maybe there's a part of them that is dark too, that also don't like certain things about black people. Okay? Okay, but everything negative you say about white people, the liberals, they hate it just as much as the people on the right. And so they hate you for hurting their feelings. So the people on the left, they have this hatred toward black people for hurting their feelings, for talking about racism. Just as much, I can't say just as much. Well, yeah, I could say that. For now, I'm going to say just as much as the people on the right. It's just that the people on the left, liberals, or Democrats, or people in general, because it's not democratic people are not only people who are against white supremacy or any of that stuff. These people, they too have this disdain and this is resentment towards black people for for talking about racism and talking about the struggles, because I'm somebody who I observe people. I'm a very intuitive person, and I watch people's body languages, and I watch people's demeanor, people's expressions when certain things are being said. And there are times when I would watch white people talk about, not white people, black people talk about certain things in the presence of white people. And I could feel the resistance in these white people. And these white people are laughing, they're smiling, and oh, you're so right. You're right, let's get rid of white supremacy. Let's eradicate white privilege and all these things. This is just one aspect of them saying these things. And this is not to say that these people are bad, because the part of them, you have to understand that the human consciousness is multifaceted. The part of that white person that wants to get rid of white supremacy, it kind of really does. In a certain sense, it really does, and because it really wants to be good. They really want to be good people. It's just that they have a dark side that is resenting black people and everything, and certain things that black people stand for. When black people talk about things that make them feel guilty and ashamed, that aspect of them that feels guilt and feels shame has a strong disdain and has a strong resentment and a strong hatred towards black people. And black people, they're so excited. They're so excited that they feel like these people are on my side. And like I said before, a part of them really are on your side. But there's another dark part of them that is not on your side. And let me tell you something. That dark part of them that is not on your side, it is way more powerful. It is way more impactful on their consciousness than the part of them that wants to be good. Why? Because with anything in the human consciousness, if it's painful, when you talk about shame and guilt, white shame and white guilt in this case, it's painful. And when people feel painful emotions, painful feelings, it impacts them more, because the pain is so excruciating that they will do anything, and they will want to do anything to get away from the pain. When people feel positive feelings, they want to stay in those positive feelings, and they cherish them, and they allow them to blossom and bloom, and they relish in them. But when people feel negative emotions, negative feelings, they will do anything to try to get away from these feelings. And not only get away, because it's negative feelings, negative thoughts, negative emotions that cause people to do bad things, like kill people, fight people, start a war, these type of things. So I'm saying this to say that, just a summary of what I just said, the consciousness of the human being, and in this case we're talking about the liberal white person, but all human beings, but right now we're talking about a specific issue pertaining to a specific type of person. There's a split consciousness that happens, okay? There's a part of you that wants to be good, and then there's the dark part of you that inevitably exists, that you can't just get away from. You can't just get rid of it out of your system by choice. It is there, okay? It is there. And I'm saying that, what I'm saying is that the split consciousness exists, and the part of white people that wants to be good, it really wants to be good, and it really genuinely wants to become better, loving people. But there's a dark part of them, and they have it because there's a dark part of every human being. We have a darkness and we have a shadow side that is drenching in shame and guilt and fear and hatred. And no matter how much you think that a liberal white person is on your side, there's a part of that liberal white person that is not on your side because it cannot stand to know that um, you are inflicting shame and guilt onto them. Okay, so let me read another part here to catch up with my next point relating to this topic. Now, reading, it seems like they are on your side because you're tuned into the conscious mind that needs to know that people are on your side. You get so excited from what your conscious mind tells you that you don't see that something deeper is happening mentally and emotionally with the people around you. That means that Black people want people to be on their side so much. They want to know that they're not alone in the struggle. They want to know that the people whose ancestors have hurt them in the past, that they're in today's world, there's a fraction of these people that are on our side. So the part of their mind, Black people this time, their conscious mind wants to know that. They want to know that people are on the side. So they're so invested in that conscious aspect of their mind that the subconscious part of them that maybe knows that these people are not really on my side in a certain way. They don't give any energy to that part of their mind. So they're not focused there. So they miss any opportunity to see that maybe these liberal white people are not on my side. And maybe some of them have a twisted agenda, and they don't understand that these every time they speak ill of white people, every time they speak about white guilt, or should I say speak about things that cause it white guilt and white shame. When they talk about slavery, when they talk about Jim Crow, when they talk about white privilege, white entitlement, anything that, when they talk about anything and when they act in a certain way, they don't understand that these liberal white people, their white friends around them, are also hurt by these things. Okay? They don't understand that these people are also hurt by these things. These people feel guilt and shame, and anybody who feels guilt and shame, they are going to carry a strong resentment towards you. Because every time they're around you, they're going to be reminded of the evils of their ancestors. They're going to be reminded, these guilty, shameful feelings are going to come up. And anybody who's feeling guilt and shame because of being around you, they're going to have a resentment towards you. Because guilt and shame is very painful for people to feel. Okay? So when I say that there's not one white person that is on your side, I mean that. It doesn't mean that these liberal people want to kill you. Because like I said before, it's like a dual aspect of them. It's a split consciousness where a part of them are kind of on your side, but there's a darker part of them that is not on your side. Does that make sense? Seems like I have one viewer. I don't know if this one viewer is, I don't even know how, this is my first time doing this. Every time I tried to do this before, there was a problem. There was a problem and I couldn't get it to work for me. I don't know if this one viewer want to help me to understand this whole thing. I'm trying to communicate with him if he wants to communicate with me. Where's the typing area? Can you even call in to speak if you want to? I appreciate you, one viewer. I don't know who you are. But I appreciate you because I have like 30 subscribers now. I'm not mad. A part of me is mad because I think I deserve so much more. But I'm getting better at doing on my craft, and I will get even better. And as time progresses, I think I'm going to be. I think this is gonna be a big platform, a very big platform, because I have a wealth of knowledge to share with the world pertaining to racism and a whole lot of other topics. And it's as I get better and I have more clarity, because every time I go on this camera, I get nervous, and then it messes with my clarity. But I'm getting better, and I know the more I do it, the more I'll get better. So, Mr. One Viewer or Mrs. One Viewer, whoever you are, could you say something or do something to show me how to communicate with you if you want to communicate? I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to receive phone calls. I don't know how to view. Oh, here's chat. Oh, there's chat. Okay. Well, if you want to say something, you can say something. There's two viewer. Hi, second viewer. Hi, I have a second viewer now. So, oh, he's gone. Oh well. Well, if you want to say something, you can say something. This is my first live chat, official live chat, and I'm just getting to understand this whole thing. So let me read this third part here. This third part here said, but here's the thing. Oh, hold on. The more black people blame and shame white people for whatever, the more the silent subconscious hatred grows among their liberal friends, their friends, right? And so the more they want to, so the more they'll want to, the more they resent you. So if a race war should begin somehow, some of them will be fighting against you in the war. Yeah, I just said that. And why is this? This is because the more black people, if you notice, the tension is rising more and more. And the more black people continue to blame white people, to shame white people, to do all these counterproductive things that they're doing, that they believe is going to, and to enforce this PC culture. The more they do this, the more the resentment is heightened among their liberal friends, the friends that they think is for them, right? So if a war should, because it's heightening and because it's getting stronger, if a war should begin, a lot of these people, it's going to get to the point where they too are going to be so, push it! They're going to be so, these people are going to be so resentful and so much more hateful as time progresses, because the more tension rises, the more it's going to be, the more people are going to have this resentment. The resentment is going to get stronger. Shh! No, please. I'm doing something here, please. This is serious stuff. Don't mess with my stuff, please. Okay? So the more time progresses, the more the tension is going to rise. And the more the tension rises, the more black people are going to ask for a more PC culture, more for white people to become more PC, because for some odd reason, black people believe that being politically correct is what is going to solve racism. And this is exactly what is going to not solve racism. This is exactly what is causing racism to heighten in this society. Mom, could you close the door, please? So, because these liberal people have this resentment towards black people, black people are going to continue to do what they're doing now. And the more it happens, the more it happens. And the more it heightens, the more it heightens. Because if you don't know what is going to bring solution, you're going to continue to do the same crazy stuff that you're doing that is causing the problem. If you don't know what is actually going to bring true solutions, you are going to continue to do the same bullshit, right? Requesting more PCness, requesting, blaming white people, shaming white people, guilting white people, and talking and doing these things that causes tension and more tension. And some people might say, well, why should I care what they think? You should care what they think. You share a society with them. You should care how they feel. You share the society together. So black people and white people, they should care about what each other feel and think. Because you share the society together. You want this shit to work? You have to start caring. All right? So, so if the more the resentment gets stronger and the disdain gets stronger and the more the separation gets stronger too, and the more more segregated they become, it creates a higher potential for a race war. Okay? And what does this mean for the liberal white people that I'm talking about? This means that they, because their resentment got stronger with time, their minds and their being are gonna tell them that they don't really want to be on the side of black people anymore, because black people just pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. Okay, so now, even though a part of me, liberal white person, wants to be good, there's a stronger part of me. And whether it's stronger or not, it seems like it's stronger because, like I said before, it's painful and it's excruciatingly painful to feel shame and guilt. So in order for me, not in order, but because I'm feeling these things, it makes me resentful towards you. And nobody wants to fight a war to help people that they feel resentment towards. So what is going to happen is you're going to see more and more liberal white people become, a lot of them are going to go over to the alt-right. A lot of them are going to become more, they're going to move towards the right more. And even if they don't join the right, they're going to find themselves in the middle where they're kind of indifferent about it. I mean, okay, these people, they shame me and they cause me to feel guilt, so why help them? Why help them? Why would anybody want to help somebody who make them feel guilty and feel shame about anything? It doesn't work. And right now it seems like it's working because we haven't gotten to the boiling point. It's starting to overflow. It's boiling now. It's steaming up. But it didn't get to the point where it's starting to spill over yet. So right now it might seem like things are somewhat okay with you and your liberal white friends, but this is not actually the case, and it's not going to be the case in the long run. And there's something you need to understand, is that white people in general, they know they're white. They know that they're white. So when shit hit the fan, when shit hits the fan, they know that they don't have to stay in this war with you. Okay? They know they don't have to stay in the war with you because they could hide with their whiteness. But you as a black person, or Mexican or whatever, you can't hide because you're obviously black. So a white person, when you look at him, you don't know if he's on the left or on the right. And to tell the truth, most white people who would be engaging in the war, they're going to be fighting a war. If it's a race war, it's against another race. It's not necessarily against the people who are in their race, who are in the other political party. So it's not going to necessarily be a war against the left and the right. It's going to be a race war if it's a race war. Okay? If it's a race war, it's going to be a race war, because liberal white people, when it comes down to it, they're not going to be willing to die for a bunch of people who are not them. Okay? Most people are not willing to die for other people. Most people don't want to die, period. And most people are not going to be willing to die for their own family member. So most people are not going to be willing to die for the very people that are causing them to feel guilt in a certain sense. Okay, so I was saying that nobody is going to want to fight a war for the people that's causing them to feel guilt. So you're gonna be in this race war by yourself. Black people, you are.